Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to NerdTube. And it's time to talk about Star Trek Prodigy, All the World's a Stage. A lovely episode, in my opinion. I'm going to be talking about it in depth. But first of all, let me introduce you to my co-host, Jim. How you doing, mate?
Well, I could be doing better, but I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Well,
How did you find this episode, Jim?
it was pretty good. I listened to it when I was mulching leaves and got home and watched it a few times. There was one part that I liked a lot. We'll talk about that later.
Fair enough. I thought this was a very nostalgic episode. It had those sort of member berries, so to speak,
Yep.
and as the episode progressed, I thought it did definitely improve. Um, Very sweet, like I almost wanted to shed a tear, because sometimes when you meet some of these alien worlds and these people, they have sinister motives, but not these
Yep.
particular aliens. So I did like how it panned out. It was funny in a way, which I very much appreciated as well. Not much on the subplots as well, but we can talk about a little bit of that as we go through the breakdown. First of all, let me introduce our resident chatter in the chats, Daniel Vance. All crews to stations. Nerd alerts. You damn right, son. You damn right. In Janeway's official log after the show last week, she compares the Diviner's medical exam to the Zalconians, who are beings on the edge of turning into pure energy. I don't recall the Zalconians. I know you do. Do you know about the Zalconians, Jim? No?
I
That's a big no by the looks of things.
I don't know crap.
Okay, Janeway also mentions that the Diviner was put in a coma by the I can never say that word, compound, same as the ball cube, and revived by the unknown compound found near his body. All right. So, in this episode, all the world's a stage, and I understand why it was called that because of some of the plays that was on display in this episode. Um we initially see the weapon that's on the protostar, which is there to destroy Starfleet. Jake and Pog obviously can't destroy it. He can't remove it. Can't do anything with it. Can't dismantle it. He's tried everything possible, and it's kind of in a way making him question his engineering abilities, which is something that comes into question a little bit later on in this particular episode. But that particular weapon um, is going to remain on the protostar, so the protostar themselves can't see Starfleet. Now Murph is sick, and I knew this would come into play as well because we see by the end of the episode him turning into something else. Well, him in a cocoon. So I wonder if he'll turn into a butterfly. I hope not. Jankum can't remove the weapon due to his ability to adapt, just like the Borg. Yeah, exactly as
No,
well. So it's going to be very unusual what they do. I mean, the best thing to do is maybe just like throw the protostar into a sun or something. It's just like
I might have to.
yeah, just like get rid of it that way. Anyway,
Yeah, just like in Battlestar Galactica, the new series, they took their technology and all the ships went into the sun.
I see. I never got into Battlestar Galactica,
Yeah,
but
that's the end of it.
I so I remember from last week the protostar got a distress signal, and they continue on from that distress signal, and they go and visit an alien race that seems to be cosplaying as Starfleet, and we come across the two of these guys. One of them is like called James T, and the other one's called Sue Who or something like that. And when they greet people, they instead of doing this, they're doing this.
Do that.
It was fantastic.
They
Like the way they were constantly saying things slightly incorrectly. It wasn't Starfleet, it was Starflight. You know, live logs and proper.
yes, live long proper.
Oh my god, that
Live
was
long and
so fun.
proper. So,
No, it was live logs. It didn't even say live long. It was live logs.
yeah.
So yeah. But these people, regardless of like being Starfleet fanboys, because they've been obviously influenced by Starfleet, and we get an idea about that later on. Um, they seem to be very nice people, very hospitable people. There's nothing, and there's nothing at all sinister about these people as well. Usually, sometimes you come across an alien race in Star Trek, and they seem
Right.
all nice and happy. Yeah, come into our society. We're really cool. And then boom, we find out later on there's some sinister plot to fuck over Starfleet in some capacity whatsoever. Maybe Wesley stepped on the grass or some shit like that, and he has to be killed for it. Anyway, the aliens, as they take in our protostar crew minus rok-tahk and Murph, because they're still on the ship because Murph is obviously sick, they perform a play explaining what happened, and we hear the stories of a guy called En Sung. En Sung, yeah, En Sung. He came from the stars and he fell down to the planet, influenced these people's way of life. Sorry, my birds are making a lot of noise. I do apologize. Come on, darling. Come out here. Come on, my son. Come here, come here, come here, come here. Skedaddle. All right. So, yeah. Let me just quickly, before I continue, let me just quickly go on to some comments. The bridge show reminds me of Man Mac Beyond Thunderdome, where the kids are telling their Macs their history prophecy memo. When also the Reign of Fire as well with Christian Bale when they were doing a play of Star Wars. It reminded me of that too. Planet Galaxy Quest, Ling Long and Proper. Yeah. So but we get we get obviously a play encountering En Sung, who fell from the stars, kind of influenced these people, and he also gave the warning of the gallows, the creepy gallows, and we obviously find out what the
curse
they're about as well.
Curse.
Sorry, the curse of the gallows, yeah.
Yep.
And after the play finishes, a young girl comes into the sort of den, this sort of village den, which is shaped like a starship, and she just said that she's just come back from the gallows. Ooh! And obviously Dal, being the leader that he is, he makes sure he catches her before she falls on the floor. But by doing so, he also gets infected as well, and they have some sort of radiation poisoning. We obviously don't know exactly what it is. Zero, being sort of like the medic of the crew, she's trying to figure out what it is as well. But if she just knew what the source is, then she can create an antidote. That old chestnut,
And what was her name? Was it Uhura or it sounded like Uhura?
I actually couldn't remember, but if the original people we met all had names of
similar to everybody. Yep.
Yeah, to everyone from the TOS crew, I'll be really pissed off because it goes a little bit too far. I think Dal's line about these people are living a lie and don't even know it is foreshadowing to reveal that Dal, the teasing, but to a degree, even I think it's also showing the irony as well because with Jake and Pog saying like these guys are pretending to be Starfleet, whilst in a way the Protostar crew are pretending to be Starfleet themselves. Yep. So, but there was a nice moment where the Doctor has these sort of leeches, and he puts one on Dal because Dal's getting a bit delirious, and it kind of like tempers Dal a little bit. It doesn't cure him, but definitely helps him. Yeah, and it kind of shows that these people, they might be primitive, but they're not savages. They're not stupid. Right. They do what they can. And the Doctor himself, he seems to be one of the more level-headed people. He knows they're not Starfleet. Right. He knows that, but he does believe in the ideology of Starfleet. He understands it, and it's a philosophy that he very much aspires to. So rok-tahk is kind of beamed down to this planet as well to help cure Dal, and her, Gwyn, and Jake and Pog put on some astronauty EV suits, so to speak. And Jake and Pog was eating a jar of those woodworms as well on the bridge show. I saw that too. That was a good call. But they go and find out what this gallows is, and the gallows is basically the Starfleet shuttle the Starfleet shuttle that Ensign, whoever his name was, his name escapes me, but the ensign who was flying that shuttle
So,
crashed onto that planet. Now, for over 100 years,
100 years ago.
that shuttle has been leaking plasma, and with the dilithium crystals all around and stuff, it's like a very combustible element, and it's causing um, it's just basically causing environmental issues and poisoning the local people. So those three have an idea of what it is, but now they can't get the information back to Zero regarding the cure because there's too much interference. So Jake and Pog then uses his magic hand to get onto the ship and then activate the radio controls and get the information to Zero. But now they're kind of trapped at the gallows. And by the way, the gallows is the Galileo. That's the name of the ship.
Right. Galileo.
Yep.
Yep.
Exactly. And now they need to be rescued after uncovering what the gallows is. And so this is one of the coolest parts as well, because this is where Dal has the bright idea, but he's now cured, to get the locals to help, pilot the Protostar. And then when they got on the Protostar, they turned the Protostar into a copy of a retro Starfleet ship, from the TOS era. So they're more familiar with it. And then they go down, they're into transporter range and able to beam up rok-tahk and the crew and save everyone. And then this particular moment was probably one of the sweetest moments, because we hear, Ensign Gavok, okay, story of the TOS in episode. Is that the name of his name? Yeah. But we hear the story of the ensign, of how he crashed on that planet and he was there to save those people. He suffered injuries, of course, but those people saved him. It was a really sweet story. Almost brought a tear to my eye. It was a really lovely story. And it just showed you how good those people are and how helpful those people are. And I really liked it. And but it's also meant as well, but this was like a break from the Prime Directive, because these people were a primitive race that hadn't created warp drive, but by this particular time it didn't matter anymore. And they were doing second contact as well, which was a nice nod to Lower Decks as well, which was pretty cool.
Which is always crazy, as we know.
Yep. Let me just quickly read this. Ensign Gavovic, his dad was captain of USS Farragut and died to a vampire cloud with 200 crewmen. Kirk was one of the survivors and had the survivor guilt off. This just sounds absolutely awful. Anyways, vampire fucking cloud.
The cloud got destroyed in a different episode.
It's the most stupidest thing I've ever heard. Anyway,
it's a story.
Vampire cloud.
It's a story. It only feeds.
I'm really happy I don't remember that. Somehow that doesn't log my memory banks whatsoever. Maybe I was too young to comprehend it when I watched it.
It feeds on the hemoglobin in your blood.
Anyways, with them making second contact and with Starfleet obviously influencing this particular race of people, they do leave a few little knickknacks and tidbits behind. But they don't give them everything. It's not like they give them fucking replicators and stuff like that, but they do leave a few things behind for them to still remain Starfleet. And the pawn people are here. Let's get rid of them.
Yep, they gave them some medical transporter and some medical supplies, so they can continue to heal the people that got ill because of the shuttlecraft dropping its stuff in the water there.
Mm-hmm.
Now the shuttle's gone, but that water's still poisoned. So,
and they sealed that area as well, so it wouldn't cause any. No, but the shuttle, but the shuttle did get destroyed eventually. It was funny that the moment they arrived there, the shuttle was just about to fall into the lake. When prior to that, it's been sitting there for 100 years. But fair enough.
Say it's been 100 years. It's gonna fall in sooner or later, Sam. Come on.
Yeah, but it just happened to happen when. It just happened to happen when they arrived. It's a bit like that movie Pitch Black. Have you seen Pitch Black with Vin Diesel?
Nope.
basically there's this planet with two suns. So the moment one sun sets, the other sun rises. The suns are constantly up, but when there is an eclipse that happens, and when the eclipse happens, the planet's in complete darkness for a little while. And when it's in complete darkness, these alien creatures that are under the earth
Right.
come out and start eating people. And so it just so happened that when these people crashed on that planet, the eclipse was about to happen. It's like fuck me. Anyway, um, but yeah, like I said, regarding the incident and the message, that was a very nice moment.
Yes.
And obviously, we hear about second contact, and then they eventually leave on good terms. And also, we get a little just to go into other things as well as obviously we see Murph in the cocoon. The other aspects of this episode was to do with Janeway and the Diviner. Now, the divine is woken up. Now, whether he's being 100% genuine, I'm not so sure, or maybe he's got an act, but he says the protostar was taken and that his people was taken, his daughter was taken. Now, in this particular sense, like, Janeway is only really looking for Chakotay, but now she has to deal with all this other shit. We still don't even know where the fuck Chakotay is. Yeah, I mean, he could, in my opinion, Chakotay is in transporter status. That's my money. Chakotay's in transporter status. Not just him, maybe the entire crew of the Protostar.
Well, the guy that was in the coma and that, and they brought him to life, and that Janeway showed a picture of Chakotay to him, and he said that they took Chakotay as a prisoner.
Okay, well, look, Daniel Vance has come up with something.
He's
I'm
always
really beginning. I really begin. I want you to expand on this. You're really beginning to believe that we already found Chakotay in Dahl. Now, how the hell does Dahl become Chakotay? I mean, he's a fucking
well,
Chakotay's human.
it's just
Chakotay's human, and Dahl's got a fucking tail but on the back of his head.
it's
And
just like in Star Trek Discovery, they took the human and the Klingon and merged them together. Remember?
Discovery, or they done that in
Star Trek
Voyager
Discovery.
as well.
They took a human and a Klingon and merged them together. They operated on the guy while he was alive.
Oh yeah. That
Yeah.
was season one. That
Same
was the
thing
most.
could be here too. They could have merged together somehow. Think about it. What do you think about my theory there, Daniel?
What the hell? What the hell? This is the most craziest. This is the most craziest thing I've
Right,
ever heard.
yes.
We've seen so many transporter accidents over the decades. I think Dahl might be the entire crew of the Protostar. No, but Dahl was identified as a species um on the on that star base, and the only one who wasn't identified as a species was Gwyn, but Dahl was identified, which means
But you never know. Never
which
know.
means that he is an alien species, but obviously he's a top priority to Starfleet. So I'm not so sure,
Interesting theory.
and it's not like Starfleet knows that Dahl is the entire fucking crew
Right.
of the Protostar, because if that was the case, then Janeway would know. But Janeway's looking for Chakotay anyway. It's funny how she's only looking for Chakotay, not the rest of the crew. But I guess maybe one leads to the other. So
Well, it's just like in other Star Trek shows and films that the tricorders can only read so much. I mean, they could have stuff hidden inside of someone's body and couldn't even read it until the very last minute. We've seen a lot of that too.
I just don't really wouldn't want to see here on Prodigy, considering it's got a
Yep.
connection with Voyager, that I wouldn't want them to I wouldn't want them to go back to the Tuvix thing again, because Tuvix obviously is one of the most memorable episodes of
Yep.
Voyager, but I wouldn't really want them to go back to that well again.
Lizard
I've
babies.
seen Janeway, Paris, lizard babies. Yeah, I know,
Yep.
but that was that. Yeah, I understand, but still, Daniel, my point remains. They knew that Dahl was a particular species. He wasn't an unknown species when
Right.
they were on that starbase, and that point needs to be recognized. So that's why I do not think he is. I mean, if he is if he is Daniel, if he is the entire Protostar crew,
Stay tuned for the
I'll
young.
give I'll give you a shout out next week. But yeah, but if not, then I don't know. Then no shout out next week. But yeah, seeing Janeway debate with Hollow Janeway about Dale's life would be so interesting.
It's
I
going to be.
guess so.
Yep.
Well, I mean, Janeway. Yeah, and by the way, like some people had a go at me last week, thinking, "Oh, I don't know how Janeway could be vice admiral and stuff like that." Like, what age does a person need to be vice admiral? Like when they're fucking 90?
I don't
Like,
think
don't you
any
think? I think like Prodigy set like, what 10, 15 years after the end of Voyager. There's still plenty of time for her to be promoted.
right.
So yeah,
She got promoted,
regardless.
saving her crew and bringing them back home. So she was a captain
Yeah,
all that time, and they promoted her to vice
because
admiral. What's
well,
so
she would
hard
have,
about that?
they could have easily promoted her immediately to admiral the moment she got back to Earth, and then 15 years later, she had enough time to be vice admiral. So what's the problem? Like,
I don't know.
yeah.
But
Anyway,
but but poor old Ensign Kim was still a freaking ensign.
and I've always said,
Guy.
I've always, I've always said regarding that is that we have seen Janeway
Yeah.
in after Voyager. We saw her in one of the Star Trek movies in a cameo where she was talking to Picard and she was Admiral Janeway, and
Yep.
then obviously we've seen her in this. So we've seen her life after Voyager. We never saw Harry Kim's life after Voyager, and far as I'm concerned, what was more important was not Harry Kim's promotion, but to get back to Earth, and then he can get a promotion. There's no point in promoting people in the fucking middle of the Delta Quadrant, for fuck's sake. I think people make a big deal about stuff like that, and it shouldn't be because you've got to see the bigger picture. The bigger picture is to get back home. Anyways,
Oh, you'd be surprised what people pick about. Let me tell you.
yeah, I know because they're fucking stupid nerd cunts. You know what I mean? They are. They're stupid fucking
Well,
cunts, and they
damn,
make a big deals
that's
over
rough.
fucking
That's rough,
yeah.
Damn.
Well, I'm going full British now, and we say the word cunt like the same way you guys say howdy Al. You know what I mean? So
Howdy, howdy.
anyway, we saw a version of Kim's life afterwards, but it was undone by time travel. Yeah, I remember when he became a fucking not a vigilante, a criminal with him and Chakotay.
Yep.
He was indeed captain of his own ship. There we go. There we go. So look, it is possible. Anything's
Anything's
possible. So
possible. Anything's
yeah.
possible in Star Trek universe.
So I think it's time we mark this episode. Um, I thought this was one of the most loveliest episodes of Star Trek I've ever seen.
Yep.
Just generally, like this episode was very, very sweet, bittersweet to a degree when you found out about the life of the ensign, especially when you heard his log, which which was a nice touch.
Yes.
And seeing this society being influenced by Starfleet, and then being so nice and welcoming and humbling and hospitable, and just wanting to be better as people, it was fantastic. I'm almost tearing up thinking about this episode. I really am. It was so lovely. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I thought this episode. It was funny as this episode progressed. It just got better and better. That's that also what's so great about this episode. I thought, oh, what's all this about then? And then more revelations and everything else. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic episode. One of the best episodes of Prodigy I've seen so far. This was really good, and it's kind of weird, but in a way, it's kind of cheesy and nostalgic and member berry like. But I loved it. I absolutely did. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. What about yourself, Booney? Sorry,
Well, I,
Jim.
I like the part when they found the space shuttle. Galileo figured out what the problem was. The little drips falling down in the water and doing explosions and that. They all got beamed off. They got the other people to beam up to the ship because it was low on crew members. and they couldn't figure out how to operate the controls in that. So the guy says, "You got anything old fashioned?" So they put the TOS bridge up there.
I love
That
that
was the
scene.
greatest thing that they could have done. I love that. That there, they put that TOS bridge up there, and I'm like, man. And they go, I can operate that. I know this. Yeah, they've been doing that for 100 years, so
Hmm.
they know the controls very well. They flew that ship like nothing. Give it a 10 because it was a great episode. I loved it, especially with the TOS when when they made it as a TOS bridge. I loved it. Every minute of it.
Yeah, I want to see more of this society in the future.
Yep.
Um, they're very good. Okay, Daniel Vaughn says the cut of Ensign Garrick's uniform was Kelvin Universe. Oh, really? Okay, fair enough.
Could have
To
been.
me, this is a 10. Oh, Daniel Vaughn gives it a 10, gives it 10 out of 10 as well. And more what I expected from
Oh,
Lower Decks. Feels canon, Easter eggs, great progressive
no,
storyline. Yeah, so like top marks from all of us in this episode. It was fantastic, and it just so happens that Cousin Cheeto has missed out. I would like to know what Cousin Cheeto would have thought of this episode, and I will speak to him tomorrow when we do our review of Titans,
yeah.
season 4, episode 3, um, which will be on tomorrow. So I look forward to talking to him about that.
Yep.
But I'm not sure how he would feel about this episode. Would you think he would like this episode, or would have thought it was stupid?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I would think he would like it, and I'm going to take a guess. He probably would get it. Give it probably a 7. I'm just guessing. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm
Like,
gonna.
it's
It's
kind of
really
hard to
hard to
figure out.
tell. It's really hard to tell with Cheetos. So it's hard to tell with a lot of people. Sometimes you think somebody would like something and they end up
Yeah,
hating it.
that's what I was just going to
Yeah,
say. It's hard to
it's
figure out what he likes and dislikes about this episode. So,
exactly. People get this opinion on me regarding certain things. They think I'm going to like something, I end up hating it. I think I'm going to hate something, end up
no,
liking it.
no,
So yeah.
no.
Um. So yeah, I think Cheeto would give this a 7 as well. Yeah, I
Mm,
mean, because he's not that fond of the TOS era, and for some reason that even though that's irrelevant in my opinion, because it's just how the story's telling regarding somebody from that era,
yep.
influencing the society. That's really what it matters, regardless whether you're familiar with the TOS era or not. But because of the way Cheetah's brain works, that would still affect his rating. So yeah, 7 out of 10. Um,
I
for
grew
for
up.
Cheetah.
I grew up with the TOS when it came out in the '60s. I watched it, and when it was reruns, I watched it over and over again until all the new stuff came out and everything. But I know pretty
Well,
much a lot about TOS. You might have to give me a few hints in that, but I'll probably pass it every time if you
for me,
want to test me or something.
for
I
me
mean,
there was for me there was a period in my youth where all those sort of sci-fi 60s sci-fi shows
yeah,
were constantly on. Time Tunnel, Land of the Giants,
yeah,
Lost in Space, Star Trek,
I've
of
seen all
course,
those.
and various others as well, which I think The Invasion was another one. Like there was so many of these
Invasion from
series
Mars.
that would just come on, and I just watched them. They were fantastic. Can't wait to see Janeway's official log for this episode. Now that I know they exist, they released a couple days after the episode on Instagram. Oh, I don't
Okay,
use
got to check
Instagram
it
that
out.
much, but okay, I will check it out. They apparently done logs like this since Disco for each series. Fair enough. By the way, I am on TikTok. By the way, this is my TikTok channel. My own personal TikTok channel is Mario01. Check it
Yeah,
out. I'm feeding my big fat birds on that channel on TikTok. Yeah, I like feeding my
I'm on
birds.
TikTok too.
Yeah, so
I don't do too much with it.
well, fair enough. But yeah, okay. So we're done here. I think. Jim, would you agree?
And we're done. I'm assuming unless Daniel's got some more information for us out there. I think we pretty much covered everything up pretty good. But like I said, I love that TOS when it came up. I'm like, yeah. Then the reaction of those aliens. You know, they're like, yeah, I know this. Let's do it.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
amazing to have a state of the art ship and you can change the bridge. I love that. That's great. Think
Yep.
about
No, no, this is going to be the only Star Trek we're going to be getting now until I don't know how many more episodes are left. Yeah, if there's it's 20 episodes a season. If we are midway, and so
it.
maybe we've got another 7 or 8 episodes left,
7 or 8.
which
It's
will
gonna have to
take
be done.
us early into 2023, and yeah, then hopefully we'll go into Picard after that. Thank you very much, Vance. We'll see you tomorrow for
Yep.
Titans, and we'll see everyone else here tomorrow too. Now, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to NerdTube,
Yep.
the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. Take care, everyone, and as always, may the force be with you always.